Ladies and gentlemen, to Season 4 of the Boomtown Pod, your home for combat sports. Covering the latest news, information, and so much more in the world of combat sports. From boxing to mixed martial arts and professional wrestling, we've got you covered. Join Andrew Kahn, Cole Smith, and their special guests as they break down everything that you missed out on or need to know. Season 4, sponsored by FKN Beer Company. FKN, the funnest beer out there. Keeping the good times rolling one beer at a time. Grab your FKN Ale and FKN Booms, available at select liquor stores in Canada. Rest When Dead Clothing. Locally owned and operated with the very best in gym apparel. Check out restwhendead.ca or visit them in Moose Jaw at Hustle Culture Gym, 268 High Street West. Sandman Boxing System in Saskatoon, proudly representing since day one. Time now to go live for Season 4 of the Boomtown Pod, and it starts now.
It sure does. I hope you guys have been doing great. We've been gone for a couple of weeks now. We are back. It's the new year. It's a new us, new studio. Like I said, we're doing big things in Season 4. Very excited to have you guys along. Of course, this is the Boomtown Pod, your home for combat sports. I'm your host, Andrew Kahn, with my co-host, Cole, the Sandman Smith, also known as Daddy Bear. We won't get into it, but how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Life has been good.
That is amazing to hear. How's Royce? We ask every single time, but we got to know how the King's doing.
He's good. He's trying to be happy. He's teething, so he's having some rough nights, but he's tough.
Put a little whiskey on them chops, hey?
Some wisers.
Yeah. I mean, if it made me black out in, my early 20s and I didn't feel any pain, I'm sure it works for children. I don't condone the drinking of an 11-month-old baby, just so we're all aware. Hope you guys are having a great time, man. Thanks for tuning in once again. We got lots to get to. It's a very jam-packed podcast. Obviously, again, we've been gone for a couple of weeks, so let's get right into this. This episode, of course, is sponsored by some amazing folks, FKN Ale. We're going to have a huge announcement coming up later on the podcast in regards to all of our sponsors, which is going to be amazing. Sandman Boxing System with us since day one. Rest When Dead Clothing Apparel, restwhendead.ca. We've got more news with them coming up as well. Like I said, it's a jam-packed episode. We're going to get right into it because we're coming out of the gate swinging. Of course, we have new segments this year, and we're breaking things down. We're starting off with, of course, MMA. This is Inside the Cage, breaking down the latest in said MMA, sponsored by FKN Beer and Rest When Dead, restwhendead.ca. UFC 297, every card, excuse me, I got a bit of a cough this year. Basically going into every card last year, we kind of gave it a fun name and what it was supposed to be. Well, UFC 297 to me was the supposed to happen, but it didn't happen card. And we're going to get right into it because this was supposed to be a banger and a coming out party for Mike Malott, who is obviously fighting in his home region in Toronto, Ontario, taking on a very game and always down to fight Neil Magny. Now, one thing I've learned about covering and watching Neil Magny fights throughout my life, you can never count this man out. No matter how difficult the fight is, no matter how bad the matchup might seem in a Neil Magny fight, he is always game to fight. And Mike Malott, for the most intents and purposes in that fight at UFC 297, did very well until the third round when that veteran experience of Neil Magny kicked in and ended the fight with about, I think there was 13 seconds left in the third round to go. What did you get from both fighters? Was this like the Neil Magny of old? Do we finally get him back? And what does it say about Mike and his new kind of, I guess you would say, his first loss in the UFC? What is this going to do to him?
I mean, I think it was just a mistake. He was obviously controlling the fight the whole time, and he went for that. He made an odd decision, going for that leg, and then he just put himself in a weird position that Magny just capitalized. So I think it was just a mistake, and he's going to regret it for a long time.
Yeah, especially because the fight was obviously, on your soil, your home turf. You're defending Canada. He was the biggest name out of the draw for Canadians in this fight card. And really, of course, obviously he was the headlining fight of the prelim card. but you feel for him. I mean, there was a lot of pressure there. You got the Nelk boys, obviously their podcast and all that other stuff. They're there hyping them up, and you've got Dana White who was really pushing Mike to the moon with this card. And I mean, it's not that he fell short. I thought he looked really, really well and looked really, really good at certain aspects of the fight. I thought his footwork was really, really good. His counter striking has making a very big improvement. But the thing with Neil Magny is when you make a mistake on a veteran like that who's got 20 plus fights inside the octagon, you've got to be careful. And I think Mike learned a very valuable lesson. I agree with you. I think it's just a crap opportunity that happened. He got caught, got put on the ground real quick. Neil did a really good job transitioning to basically the back, which was really, really impressive. And the second that he got that ground and pound in there, Neil's very lengthy for that division. And that's a
Yeah.
a lot of arm coming at you at one time. So, I mean, he tried, but I think Mike will learn a ton from this fight. What would you like to see from Neil Magny next?
That's a good question. He's kind of been that gatekeeper for a long time. So uh, I think he's got to work his way back up again. But yeah, he's kind of that guy who that 50-50 fighter, right?
Yeah, and every time it's funny because every time you look at the standings, Neil Magny is always flirting in the top 15. He never leaves it. He's just always somewhere in there, and it's so funny because I was talking to a buddy about this. I was like, Neil Magny might be the most like weird fighter of all time in that division, and like there's guys that are like him. Like there's Clay Guida who always just flirted being in the top 15 but could never crack the top 5. And if he did, he was like 5 for a fight and then he lost. Like uh, just guys like that can never take that next step. But I mean, there's a lot to learn for Mike Mallet. I think he's going to come back. I think he's going to be he's a great fighter to begin with. He's going to sharpen up those. I think he's going to work on his wrestling a little bit more. And get ready for the top 15. I mean, there's a lot of good top 15 fights in that division, so I look forward to seeing what he does next. Of course, moving on to UFC 297, we're talking about Raquel Pennington taking on Miss Silva for the Bantamweight Championship. This kind of went the way I thought it was going to go. Raquel Pennington just being the veteran that she is, the presence that she is. Rocky's had some amazing fights. So has Silva in the last little while. But I just kind of had in my heart of hearts knew that Raquel Pennington was likely going to win the vacant Bantamweights Women's Championship. It wasn't a great fight by any imagination. She did enough to get the job done. But hey, Raquel Pennington is your brand new UFC Bantamweight Women's Champion. Cole, your thoughts on the fight and the matchup we should make next?
That's that fight wasn't great. I I didn't enjoy it at all. I I thought Silva was gonna get her, but yeah, it kind of just really showed her. She's just not ready to be at that level. Um, because I didn't think that Pennington was doing anything like overly that great to be winning that fight. So I think it was kind of showed the lack of skill on Silva's side. But yeah, I think that title's gonna bounce around for a while. It's gonna. There's just not really any one person I can think of that would dominate that division right now. So I think it's gonna be just bouncing around for the next little bit.
I agree fully. I mean, they interviewed Amanda Nunes behind the scenes. She was in attendance, and basically, Amanda, she didn't want to say that she was coming back, but in a roundabout way, she almost did. She almost said that she was like, I'm feeling healthy, I'm rejuvenated, I feel like myself again. And there's been some interesting matchups and signings that have happened in the last little while. And honestly, this is the crazy part of all this. There's going to be some weird matchups that get made in the next little while, and one of the matchups I think that's going to get made now because we'll break into the Kayla Harrison thing later. With her coming over, that just means again that Cyborg's roaming free, and she's right behind me. She's roaming free in PFL. And honest to God, with this whole Bellator merger, the matchup everybody wanted was Cyborg versus Kayla Harrison to unify who was going to be the best in that world. But now that Kayla Harrison has come this way, I am intrigued to see if Amanda Nunes and Chris Cyborg gets announced. I'm not going to be shocked. I'm not going to be, confused or anything like that because I think somewhere, somehow, Dana White is going to absolutely give as much money as he wants to Chris Cyborg because he just did it with Kayla Harrison. And I think Cyborg is 10 times the athlete. And that's not a shot at Kayla Harrison. I just think Cyborg is 10 times the athlete that she is. Cole, do you think that we could see at a potential rematch Amanda Nunes and Chris Cyborg?
I would love to see it. The I always thought the first match was too quick to see who the better fighter was. So I would like to see it again, and hopefully that it went a little bit longer so we could kind of see their skills more than just it was like a minute long brawl pretty much. Uh, but it just sucks that Cyborg and the UFC don't have a great relationship.
Yeah.
So that's the only unfortunate part that which might make that difficult to happen.
I mean, they built the 145 division around her, right? When she was a free agent the first time around, they basically said, hey, we're going to be okay with you being at 145 because we know 135 is an extremely cruciating weight cut for you. And we've seen it. We saw the weight cut for her. If you've been living under the hole, you understand, and you've probably seen the video of her trying to cut weight to 135. It is excruciatingly painful to watch. But I agree with you. I think there's certain circumstances where it has to be the right time, right place, right thing. And after, we heard the announcement of Kayla Harrison, and I texted you right away. I think it was like 3 minutes after it broke. And we were both like, holy shit, this is game changing for the UFC because, Kayla Harrison is a monster. Like, she's big. And one of the things that Dana was said right off the get go was, I know that she's done testing and I know she can make the weight. So that to me was like, okay, she must have done a cut because there's no way Dana would have taken the chance on this knowing she couldn't make the weight. So she must have done a cut prior to this and then proved with her medicals and everything else that she was able to make it. But Kayla Harrison coming to the UFC is huge. So I'm really looking forward to it. And she doesn't get a very easy opponent right off the get-go. Oh, congratulations. Let's give you Holly Holm, like one of the most badass women to ever step foot in the octagon. So if she can weather that storm, who I honestly think in this point, this is going to be Kayla Harrison's hardest matchup to date, Holly Holm is wild. Holly hasn't looked great, or I don't want to say that she doesn't look great. She's looked different since losing that championship. She's a win, a loss, a win, a loss. And now she's on a little bit of a win streak here. So, I mean, she's got some momentum in her corner, which is multiple couple wins, which is big in that division. So, I mean, no pressure to Holly. She's going to go out and do the whole thing she did with Ronda, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a very good first fight. I think it's a perfect first fight. You know, Holly's tough. She's a good fighter. And it's a good first step. And as for making weight, there's a bunch of like people saying they don't think Harrison can make weight, or it's a really big weight cut. But I think people just need to remember that the UFC has testing, so she, she'll make weight. You know, um, she's gonna probably lose a lot of weight really fast. Even like there was a picture of her with Dustin Poirier, I think, and she looks way smaller already.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so
yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think she's already started the diet part of it. I think she's already started the training on that kind of aspect of things. I just think her signing, just as excited as I was for the Cyborg and Kayla Harrison matchup, I'm just like kind of as a fight fan, I'm kind of like ugh, because I love that Kayla went to the UFC. I do. I'm very excited about it that she signed, but also at the same time, it takes a massive hit for PFL and Bellator, I guess, essentially. I don't know if we're calling it a United Fight League yet. I'm not sure what they're going to call it. But, I mean, for the time being, that was the matchup to make, and now we're kind of getting lost in the sauce again where it's, I'm not saying that Liz Carmouches of the world and stuff like that aren't the caliber, but they're not. In Cyborg's world, they're not, because Cyborg's now going to lap that division again. So I really hope for our as a fight fan and our purposes, I really hope that everything is cleared with Cyborg. Um, I mean, PFL and Bellator right now are, I don't want to say struggling, but from what we've understood of everything, it's weird because they signed Francis, right? They bring in Nagano, and they're supposed to have him be fighting. And now he's in boxing. Like, he's now going to have two boxing fights by the time that he even touches the octagon. And I don't even know if he touches the octagon. So they're
Yeah,
they're paying this guy a shit ton of money, and he's
yeah,
not even fighting for their corporation.
yeah, and he's making a ton at those boxing fights. So
And
uh,
so it
I can't see. I like he's not even gonna. He could after this next match, he could probably retire for the rest of his life.
what's 8 million
So
when you're making 80?
right, yeah.
Right? Like it's insanity. But we're gonna dive into that stuff later in our boxing beatdown corner. Let's continue on. Sean Strickland, everybody's fan favorite in Canada, apparently. The fuck Trudeau chants were going wild during his fight. He had a Strickland for Canada Prime Minister shirt on during the ceremony weigh-ins and stuff like that. This guy's just a character, man. He's a cat. You know who Sean Strickland is. And honest to God, I'm starting to fall in love with this guy, man. He's offside. He's off kilt. CTE is for sure a thing. And he's just living his best life. This guy comes to the fights wearing a biker jacket the other night, and I was like, this guy's fucking awesome. With that being said, he took on a very game Driscus Duplessis. And honest to God, this is, you and I have talked about this before. I said the one thing that Sean Strickland struggles against are guys who are good at takedowns. And to secure the victory, I've heard it all week. Strickland was the busier fighter. Strickland threw more punches. Strickland did this and this. Hey guys, I don't want to kind of alarm you, but when it comes to fighting, takedowns and octagon control are massive point indicators when on a judge's scorecard. And he was able, I know it's not much, but he was able to take Sean Strickland down for about 3.5 minutes, which in previous fights is more than he's actually been taken down. So right off the get-go, Driscus did what needed to be done to become a champion. You have to up a little bit, right? If you let it go to the hands of the judges, you have to do just those little things that are a little bit more meticulous to knock off a champion. And we've seen that before. And I think Driscus did everything he could. In the first round, he got tagged with that right hand. And his eye was just disgusting after the first round. I'm like, oh boy, that looks like a broken orbital bone or something's going on there. But credit to Driscus, he just kept going. He kept going. He weathered that first 2 rounds, and after that, I thought it was a Driscus show. He started to find his counter jabs. He started reacting properly. He found the takedown very efficiently and smartly. It was the right shoot at the right time, and he nailed it. Like, Sean Strickland was tired. Strickland looked like he was in the best shape of his career. You can look at the pictures that have been posted. He looked like was arguably in the best shape of his career. But Driscus gets it done, 49-48, 49-48, and 49, I think it was actually 47-48, 47-48, and then 49-48 for the winner by unanimous decision, of course. And now
Split,
your first
split.
ever South African champion, which is really, really cool. Driscus Duplessis. If you want to check our socials on Twitter, I posted the video of him walking into the airport with his title. And you can't tell me that area and that place wasn't going fucking, it was just electric. Like, I've seen guys win gold medals and Stanley Cups that have been greeted by his equal amount of fans. So congrats to Driscus. Cole, take me through the fight. What did you think, buddy?
I thought it was a really good fight. I thought it was awesome from both of them. At one point, I thought Duplessis was gassed like after the second round, but he got a second wind. Uh, he looked real tired at the end of the second, and I thought Strickland was going to probably start putting it on him. But then, yeah, he got a second wind. And I had it 2-2 going into the last round, and I actually thought Strickland won the last round.
That's
Uh,
fair. A lot of people do.
yeah,
Like I said, I don't discredit it.
yeah, and I'm not upset that Duplessis won either because of how close it was. You know, I'm like just thinking about the judge's perspective. You know, it's a hard job, and just like you said, that ring control was there. So in those close fights like that, ring control is huge because depending on the angle, you can't even see what shots are getting through. You can't see what, all you can really see is somebody moving forward and somebody moving backwards. And yeah, I thought the first 2 rounds were very, uh, and Strickland's defense really impressed me. It seemed like everything was just going off his arms, and just
That shell
nothing
that
was
he
really
uses.
landing. Yeah, it was very impressive. I was very impressed. Um, and then, yeah. Duplessis took over, and then I did think Strickland won that fifth, and uh, but it was just like a very close fight. So when Duplessis won, I wasn't upset or anything. I was like, yeah, it's a good decision too.
Yeah, and I had the same reaction when they announced that he was the winner. I wasn't like I was shocked, you know. Like there's sometimes where like it could go either way, and I'm like, hey, like I was literally talking to my buddy Brian. I said either one of these guys could probably win this fight, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to Strickland wins. Like again, I saw the same thing you did, but I just thought those two takedowns with 3 minutes of ground control might be the differential in that fight, and I think it, for all intents and purposes, it probably was. But congratulations, Adriscus. We think there's going to be a matchup that gets made. We're going to talk about that very, very shortly, but we're going to get into some Bellator and PFL while we're on that topic because they announced a super card, Bellator versus PFL, champ versus champ, and this is going to be awesome. If you got the zone, you're going to want to tune in. This fight card is going to be banana land because kicking off the main card is AJ McKee and Clay Collard. What a matchup. Just right off the get-go.
Yeah, man, this card is wild.
Like,
This every fight is a good fight. Uh, it's actually super exciting. Pumped for this.
yeah, like I said, I'm not taking anything away from PFL or Bellator. This is like the most exciting card I've ever seen out of any of these organizations. And it's something that you and I have been talking about for so long. A champion versus champion. And obviously it's not UFC versus, Bellator as we talked about prior. But this is equally as good. Light heavyweight matchup. Diego Santos taking on the dog. Oh, Yoel Romero. This is nuts. Another banana fight. We've got a heavyweight fight with Bruno Capelozzo taking on Vadim Nemkov. The undefeated Vadim Nemkov in his division said, nah, I lost once. I'm moving up to heavyweight. Like, that's insane to me.
And the yeah, it man, the when I was going down this card, man, and then I was at the gym and I was showing one of the coaches there, and we were just going through this whole list, man, and it's so exciting, man. I wish things like this happened more often. Champ versus champ. Uh, what a great idea, and with them merging and that happening, this is such a cool way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, for them, this is like their inaugural kickoff card, right? Like, they had the Bellator event still, and they had a PFL event, but now it's like they're together now, which is awesome. We have a catchweight fight at 182 pounds, which is really cool. Ray Cooper III taking on Jason Jackson. That's a really intriguing matchup. I'm a big Jason
Yeah.
Jackson fan. I think this is going to be a hell of a fight. The featherweight title. This is where we get the champ versus champs going on here. Jesus Pinado taking on Patricio Pitbull, which, I mean, goddamn, this matchup is gonna be nuts.
Yeah, that's a sweet one. That's a really, really good one.
Like, insanity at its finest. This fight might last 3 minutes. It might last 15. It might last 25. I don't know. It's insanity. I'm all aboard this train. In the middleweight division, we've got Johnny Eblin, who honestly might be one of my favorite fighters outside of the UFC, taking on Impa Casagne, who also monster. So feed me these fights, man. And then rounding out this card is just badass. Just meat on meat violence is going to be happening when you've got Renan Ferreira taking on Ryan Bader for the heavyweight unification, if you will. Dude, yes. Now, I'm saying this politely. If Francis Ngannou is with PFL and he ended up beating Renan Ferreira, I would be so fucking amped right now for a Ngannou versus Bader fight.
Me too. Huge opportunity for Bader to cash in on a Ngannou fight. I think, yeah, man, it's exciting. I like that.
Be a wild fight, but nonetheless, make sure you tune in. This card. DAZN is where you can stream it. ESPN Plus as well on pay-per-view. Okay, let's get into it. UFC 298 as well. We're gonna go quickly through these. We're gonna make our picks on who we think we're going to win this fight. We've got Alexander Volkanovski, who is one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, taking on a very fucking good Ilia Topuria. Cole, I'm picking upset.
Oh, and this is such a hard one, but I'm going to go with Volk.
You're running with Volk, eh?
I don't know. Yes.
I just everything from Topuria that I've seen, he's weathered every storm, whether it be
Yeah.
media, the top 15 that he's had to face, the way to get there. He has been just this fucking pit bull, man. And I absolutely love his nonchalant, don't give a fuck attitude. It's just fun. It's good. And Volk, do not get me wrong, Volk is the biggest badass essentially under the 5'5" range. Okay, this guy is game as shit to take on anybody, and I'm very very excited for this fight card. 298 is secretly full of little bangers,
It
including
is.
this one. Robert Whittaker taking on Paulo Costa.
Yeah.
This is a little hidden banger. Like, I mean, you look at this fight card top to bottom, anybody can check it out. It's nuts. But this fight I want to showcase because this fight was supposed to happen before. And both guys have gotten hurt. Whittaker got hurt during his last camp. Costa with that, I don't even know what the fuck was going on with his elbow. Maybe the most disgusting thing I've ever seen out of a human being. It looked like he had maggots in his elbow. It was just nasty. But nonetheless, this matchup is going to be so damn good. And I think it's going to be the number one contender fight for that middleweight championship. Eventually, if Izzy gets his title fight, and we'll talk about that in a bit, I think this is the number one contender fight. Cole, who do you see winning this fight and how?
I think Whitaker will take it. I think he's just all around better. Um, unless he gets caught with something, which is totally possible with Costa, but I think Whitaker's the better fighter.
Yeah, Paulo Costa's hands are heavy. And I think that's the only weakness that I see with a Robert Whittaker fight. Sometimes he likes to push a little too aggressively, and he eats a lot. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to this fight. This is a fighter's fight, man. Again, 298, check it out. That's coming up very, very shortly. But before we get into all the other stuff, hey, we've got an announcement for you. This is pretty fucking awesome, and we're really, really excited for it. UFC 300 is probably the most bananas card that I have seen in so goddamn long. We were talking about it before this UFC 300. In case you've missed some of the fight announcements, let's just give you a little bit of a recap so far, shall we? This is not how it's going to work. I'm not sure if this is how the card is kicking off, but we've got Bobby Green taking on Jim Miller in the lightweight division, which is like a fight night headlining fight any day of the week. We got Davison Fierro, the former champion, taking on Cody Garbrandt, the former champion. We've got two champions we're going to face off against each other, which is bananas. Charles Oliveira is going to take on Artem Tiscarin, which is a nuts matchup in its own. And again, these are probably prelim fights on this card.
Yeah.
Bo Nickel taking on Cody Brundage. I think of all fighters, that should probably be the one that kicks off the card. Not a shot to Cody Brundage or anything like that or Bo Nickel, but they're relatively newer into the UFC, right? That's the only way I'm going with this. Calvin Kattar taking on Aljamain Sterling. That's nuts. Yuri Prochazka taking on Alexander Rakic. Bananas. You've got Wiley Zhang taking on Yan Zhang in a fucking women's strawweight fight. And then just announced not too long ago was Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway for the BMF title. And Dana said he's not even close to being done because then he added Kayla Harrison into the fight mix with Holly Holm.
Mm-hmm.
This card is fucking insanity. You don't have to say, and I've seen a lot of people bitching about it online, being like, is that it? Is that it? This card's weak. What are you talking about? Like, from a fight fan's perspective, this card screams draw. Like, just money the entire time. It's so good. And it's even better because you can watch a card at the Canadian Brewhouse in Saskatoon with the Boomtown Pod. You betcha we will be there, the official hosts for UFC 300. That is our announcement. We're very, very excited. They have been working with us. Cole and I are actually going to meet the management group on Saturday, kind of get a feel for what we're going to be doing. This is just going to be a super cool day, hands down, one of the coolest that we're going to have in our podcast history. Kind of a coming out party for us. We've been doing this for 4 years, and now we're actually putting ourselves in the front lines and being some hosts, which is absolutely going to be a tremendous time. And they're going to be drink specials and all that other kind of cool stuff, which is, of course, why you guys are going to be there. We're going to watch the card together. We're going to have a lot of fun. But I wanted to get into this. FKN Brewing, of course, a great sponsor of ours in the podcast. They're actually, the owner of the group, Kirk Ferkness, is actually coming out to Saskatoon from Kamloops. He's going to be coming out to meet us and actually, chit chat and all this other kind of stuff. And we're really looking forward to FKN being there. Friday night, they're actually going to be doing a sampling at one of the liquor stores. So once I have more of the details on that, you guys can come check that out. We'll be there. I cannot wait to meet some of you guys. This is going to be a bananas fucking fun time. We're also, this is cool, Rest When Dead, Aaron York, he's coming down. He's going to have some giveaways as well from his company. Of course, a great sponsor of ours in Season 4. Sandman Boxing System is also going to be there, which is unbelievable, our day oneers. So like I said, this is going to be a fun night for everybody involved. We cannot wait. I'll have more specifics once we meet with management on what's kind of going on, but I can tell you this confidently. FKN has let me know that we have a ton of swag giveaways throughout the evening, so we're super excited about that. Plus, this is really cool. We're going to be doing a live from the bar top podcast, talking a little bit about UFC 300. We're going to have our sponsors on, and we're going to do it right from the bar. So a really, really cool. Really looking forward to working with the Canadian Brew House on this one in Saskatoon. It is the West location, in case any of you guys were wondering. April 13th, we will be there. I hope to see a bunch of you guys there. Let's make this a great goddamn night of fights and just us coming out and being like, hey, listen, we're competing with the big boys in the podcast world. Here we are. All right, so we really want to see you guys out there. Cole, how excited are you for this, man?
Man, it's gonna be so fun. It's gonna be awesome. I've been just kind of tossing it around with the guys at the gym and everybody, and I think a lot of people are gonna come out, hang out. So it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, I'm super excited. And again, there's going to be merchandise as well from Rest When Dead. They're going to have some stuff. I think we talked about it. You'll have some stuff as well from Sandman
Yeah.
Boxing System. So you betcha, man. This is a night that you don't want to miss. If you're in the Saskatoon area, if you're in Regina, it's April. Usually the weather's pretty goddamn nice at this point. Come on down. And to make matters even better, it's your boy's 32nd birthday. All right. So there's just lots going on that weekend that you want to be there for. And this card is just bananas. So we can't wait to see you guys. And of course, shoot the shit. We'll go to table. We'll talk fights. We'll have a lot of fun. I can't wait for it. It's going to be a ton of fun. Again, it is going to be UFC 300, Saskatoon, Canadian Brewhouse, the West location. Be there or be square. I hate using that reference, but you want to be there. You know what other things you want to be there for? Palace Athena Women's Fighting Championship 3 has officially been announced. March 9th, Calgary, Alberta. Looking forward to this one at the Nutrient Event Center. And you can also get it on pay-per-view at million.co. Man, this is going to be, I'm very honored. I've been asked again to come to the commentating table and be our ringside color commentator, like I have been for the previous two events, man. I'm pumped. I'm thankful. Jenica and everybody that's part of this group, dude, they gave your boy a shot. And it's really worked out in my favor, and I'm grateful to be with these guys, man. It's such a cool organization. If you don't know, it is an all-women's MMA organization, and it has been one of the coolest experiences of my life to get to meet some of the people that I have without this. I got to meet from Big Brother Canada, Ryan Ballantyne. You guys probably know him. He's a great guy. I've got to do ringside color commentary now with Felicia Spencer, a UFC legend in her own. A former number one contender, just a cool human being. And then I've met some celebrities along the way. Hakeem Dawadu, which is one of them. This girl behind me, Chris Cyborg, got to meet her, man. She's one of the most stand-up people in the world, dude. And it just continues. And I know that there's going to be some special guests that'll be there. There's a couple fighters that have already been announced, Lexi Rook being one of them from Britain. She's been working with the Britain top team. She's absolutely a monster. We've got a couple other ones. Alana Cook, who the Alanimal, one of my favorites. She's going to be on this card again. We had her on the podcast a couple months back. She is a stellar human being, a stellar person. And as the fighters get announced, I'll be able to make more announcements on our post. So stay tuned for fighters that get signed throughout this. But man, be there March 9th, Calgary, Alberta, the Nutrient Event Center, pay-per-view if you can't make it, million.co. Cole, I'm dragging your ass out to this one.
Sure, I'll come.
I'm not saying I'm gonna drag you by the beard, but I might.
No, that'd be wicked. I haven't been to one of their events, so it'd be cool to see. Come check
Yeah,
out.
it's such a unique experience, man. And for myself being a part of the crew, you get to see a lot of the stuff when you watch your fights. You're like, wow, seems pretty simple. A couple guys talking, and there's the fights. They go out, and man, honestly, there's so much that goes into it. Like we have meetings and all this other stuff about production, and you got your headset on and you're trying to talk, and sometimes there's cues coming in, and you're just like, especially in that last card. I've never felt more awkward than I ever have because there was a disqualification, and there was some back and forth banter that was going on, and we were trying to get the result from the official in the ring, and then we had the commission telling us what was going on, and Ryan and I were literally flying by the seat of our pants, being like, "Do you?" Do you know who won this fight? Like, who's like, we're just, one ear off, one ear, and you're like, at the end of the day, we ended up getting it figured out. But if you want to see the most chaotic moment in probably broadcasting history, watch Palace Athenas 2 on Fight TV because you'll understand what I'm talking about. It was bananas, but the crew is amazing. The techs, the fighters, the girls are just absolutely amazing people. Every single one of them that I've had on here the last 2 years of doing this event, they've come on. They've been willing to come on here. One of the coolest ones was Dakota Dacheva, who is now the PFL European Women's Champion and $1 million richer. Shout out to her, or sorry, $100,000 richer. Just an incredible amount of cool people that I've been able to have on this platform, and it doesn't happen without your guys' support. So thank you so much, Cole. That's me humbly bragging. I'm out of here. Stop talking about it. Let's get into your favorite segment because it's sponsored by you. This is the Boxing Beatdown, and it's sponsored by Sandman Boxing System out in Saskatoon. My guys are crushing it out there. I watch your guys' videos, man. I get inspired. Saw one today. I mean, and shout out to poor Cassidy. Looked like she was going through the goddamn motions today. That did not look like fun, but she stuck through it. Champions do that. So if you want to be like Cassidy and some really sharp-minded people, Cole, tell them where they can find you, bro.
I'm in Saskatoon in Stonebridge area, out of Alliance Training Center. So I coach out of there. But yeah, I'm on Instagram, on Facebook. So yeah, come find me. Give me a shout and come check out a class. We can do a free one-on-one if you give me a shout.
You'll do it, and you'll never look back. I puked my first one, so funny stat. With that being said, let's get into this. Anthony Joshua, Francis Ngannou. Holy shit, Batman. What a weird matchup when that got announced. I immediately saw the breaking news notification come through on my screen. I texted Cole and I was like, bro, you're never going to believe, because the podcast prior to that, Anthony Joshua was poking fun at Francis Ngannou. And I was like, we talked about it a little bit. I recapped it. I actually went through it and listened to us talk about it. How Anthony Joshua just thought it wasn't good for the sport. The guys are coming in and making money. Fucking bet you changed his mind when he saw that paycheck. Bet you it
Yeah,
did.
and I think he also I think he believes Francis won.
Yep.
Because he was saying that the judging was bullshit and stuff. So I think that kind of maybe he got some respect. Francis earned some respect, I guess, from Anthony after that. So I'm gonna give him a shot, and I think it's a cool matchup. It's just, even though Francis did well against Tyson, I still cannot see Anthony doing anything but beating him up.
This is gonna be a
uh,
fucking beatdown. I'm gonna be real with you. This is
yeah,
this is a beatdown.
it's just tough for me to see an MMA guy come in and do well against the top. Like, not like well against anyone, but like the top boxers. I still can't believe how well he did against Tyson.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. In my mind, Joshua's going to beat him up.
Yeah, I think just the way that Joshua hits angles, Francis is in a world of fucking trouble. Like,
Yeah.
and I know I kind of bit my words a little bit by saying that in the first matchup against Fury that he would be a significantly he's obviously stronger than Fury. He's got the heavier hands, that's for damn sure. But you got to be able to cut down angles with Tyson, and I think Francis did a great job with that. But Joshua's a little bit faster than Tyson Fury, and it's not a knock at Tyson at all. I just think Joshua is a much quicker heavyweight, and he's going to have an eye-opening experience, and then it's probably PFL time for Francis Ngannou. But I also have been super duper wrong about everything this guy does, so I have no idea with Francis Ngannou. I think Anthony Joshua wins this. I don't think it's going to be as good as it was with the Fury fight. I think it's going to be a 6th, 7th round finish. What do you think, Cole?
Yeah, I think just Joshua, his jab, like everything he does is a little bit more crisp. I think he's gonna just beat him up with that jab, that cross, and I think he'll probably stop him as well. I don't know when, but yeah, I think
Yeah,
he'll stop Francis.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty easy victory there. It's going to be a fun fight. If you're a boxing fan, tune in. We're really, really excited about that one. Another one that we're really excited about is Rolly Romero and Mr. Pitbull Cruz. This is going to be a great fight. Ryan Garcia coming out today with some heavy words on this one. He feels absolutely disrespected by Pitbull Cruz because initially that was the fight he wanted. We talked about this in the previous podcast about Ryan Garcia trying to call his shots. He's not there yet. He's
No,
not there yet. I mean, Rolly Romero is legit. Rolly Romero may be one of the best in that division, and Pitbull Cruz is as well. So if Garcia feels disrespected, kid, sharpen your knives because you're going to need it when you go into this fire. I think the winner of this will obviously take on Garcia. I think that's obviously the way that WBC is probably going to go, and it's probably going to work that way. Cole, I love this. I love this matchup. Who do you think pulls it off?
I yeah, it's a good. I really want Cruz to win, but that's a tough fight. Romero's good. Um, yeah, but Pitbull is good too, and he just has that forward pressure, and he's always on you. So it's going to be an exciting fight. And honestly, I think the loser of this fight would beat Ryan. So uh, I don't think Ryan's there.
Yeah, I don't think he's there yet either. I really don't. Rolly Romero is just both of these guys, Pitbull as well. They're both just such talented young fighters. I mean, Rolly Romero's got a lot of momentum going. I mean, this is I think for me, I think I'm going to probably round out with Rolly Romero winning this, but I also think that if Cruz did have to fight Garcia, I don't think Garcia is there yet. And I agree with you fully. I think there's a transition period being done, and Ryan will get there, and he can feel disrespected all he wants. Kid, you're not there yet. Like it's just one of those things. Like you're gonna learn, and you'll get there, and it's gonna be good. You're young, and then he's got a new baby mama drama thing going on. It's just there's a lot going on for Ryan Garcia. This guy is fucking wild, man. He's like 23, and he might not. This is just wild. He's just a fucking wild dude. But yeah, I'm gonna roll with Rolly in this fight. Cole, your pick.
I'll go Cruz.
Beautiful. I like that we're split on this. I do, because now we can watch a fight and throw some money down on it together. All right, well, let's get into our last segment of the evening. We always keep things under an hour. We're at that 44-minute mark. This is the first time we've done this, which is awesome. This is the Wrestling Roundup, and it's sponsored by, of course, Rest When Dead Clothing. Now, if we want to talk about Rest When Dead, 2 TNA wrestlers are actually sponsored by Rest When Dead. So this is really, really cool. Good segue. Cody Deaner. Yes, Cody Deaner himself, the madman. Some of the coolest merch you're going to see, restwhendead.ca. Check it out. You can actually get his official shirt, as well as Jody Threat, which is really, really cool, as well as the new TNA Digital Champion, Crazy Steve, also a Rest When Dead athlete. So TNA is back. For years, it was Impact Wrestling, as Cole and I know. And then TNA Wrestling was, the AJ Styles of the world back in the day, the Christian Cages when they left the WWE, all that cool stuff. Man, I watched that first event, Hard to Kill. Did you see any of it? How fucking cool is it just that they went back to their original stage setup and all that other stuff?
I'm out of the loop on this. I think it's been a while, man, since I've been keeping up with TNA and WWE. It's been probably a little over a year since I kind of fell out of the loop.
Well, welcome back, you beautiful bitch. But no, yeah, so it's really cool because TNA, obviously, when we were growing up, TNA was, total nonstop action. Earlier on in our lives, I would say I was probably about 14 or 15 when they first started showing those events. It was awesome. It was crazy back in the day. You had, Jeff Hardy, who left the WWE and became Willow and did his own thing over there. And just these weirder personas. Your Jeff Jarrett, Sting was there. The Dudley Boys were there for a while. I mean, Hulk Hogan ran TNA wrestling for a little minute there. Like it was just really cool to see them throw this nostalgic event and have, some of the former guys there too. It was really, really a cool event. Hard to Kill was amazing. Shout out, like I said, to Crazy Steve, who ends up winning the TNA Digital Championship, which was really, really cool. Jordan Grace became the Knockout Women's Champion, which was really cool to see. And then, of course, my guy Moose ends up winning the world title. It was such a cool event, and I like that they have the old logo. The old TNA logo is back, which is awesome. So Impact Wrestling officially dead. TNA Wrestling is here. It's going to stay, which is really, really cool. And we had a surprise appearance from a former WWE superstar, former heavyweight champion himself, Dolph Ziggler, now going by Nick Nemeth, who made an appearance and immediately challenged Moose and was like, hey, I'm here. And people went fucking bananas. So that's how you make an impact on your first card. Bring in a former guy that was a top guy for a very long time in another organization and make an impact. So, hey, TNA Wrestling's back. We'll be here to talk about it. I can't wait for this. On Saturday, another one that we're going to get into, the Royal friggin' Rumble, baby. It's officially happening this Saturday. I am excited as hell. Now, background on this, Cole, myself, his wife, we used to have Royal Rumbles all the time on the Xbox. Like that was our fucking thing. And I wasn't great at it, okay? Your boy didn't win too many of them. Your other boy sure won a lot of them. With that being said, man, the Royal Rumble's always entertaining. If I always tell people, if you're not watching WrestleMania, you have to watch the Royal Rumble. Just because you never know who's coming in, who's going to win it, who's going to pull it off. You always think you have a fucking suspicion on who's going to win it, and then they end up losing. And you're like, shit, Like this year, we saw the return of Randy Orton. He's back after a 11-month hiatus with his back issues. Seth freaking Rollins just destroyed his MCL, and somehow this dude might still be there. CM Punk is back. This is crazy. It's still Roman's yard. The Rock has come back to Monday Night Raw. So, like, there is just so many names that have been popping up. I always love doing this because, it's 30 men, 30 women. You have no idea who the fuck is going to win this thing. I think this is the year of CM Punk. It's probably an unpopular opinion. It's probably, if you went to a betting site, he's probably in the top 5. I just think with them bringing him in, and now that Seth Rollins is hurt, I know they're trying to do the Cody and Punk rivalry. Obviously, we all know AEW started, and there was some disfigurement there with both guys leaving that organization and coming to WWE. I don't know. I'm going to roll with CM Punk in the men's. Cole, who are you rolling with?
Man, I'll go Rock. Because
Okay.
he's coming in near the end.
Yeah, you know that, this is the crazy part, is that, they already have hinted at The Rock coming back. He said when he was in his last appearance about a month ago, he literally said, where's your favorite place to eat? Should The Rock go to the bar? Should The Rock go to a booth? Or should The Rock sit at the head of the table? Which is an immediate slap to Roman Reigns. And they're all family, which is fucking awesome. So for the first time in a long time, I was watching wrestling. I had chills and goosebumps. I was like, "This guy, whatever The Rock does is electrifying. The guy's the fucking best."
I just watched John Cena talking about when he exposed his writing on his wrist for his promo back when John Cena was new, and he actually really regrets it doing that.
Yeah, so The Rock, that's hilarious. If you have the chance, go watch that clip. I know exactly which one you're talking about. It's eye opening,
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's so funny because The Rock at that point had been out of the WWE for like 10 years, and he comes back in
yeah.
and trying to get in a battle of words with John Cena, who might be arguably one of the best trash talkers on the mic all day long. I'm so excited for this. It's always so much fun. I think in the women's Royal Rumble, you always see an odd surprise that comes through. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see Trish Stratus back or Lita come back with something they like to do. Molly Holly's always in there. I do think though, because her contract is up with TNA and she lost the title, I think she's coming back. I think we could see Trinity in there. Of course, we were talking about the glow up Naomi, who is formerly of the WWE. I think she makes a return. I wouldn't even be surprised if one Sasha Banks comes back out of the blue. So now that Triple H is in charge, man, who fucking knows, right? Like, it's not Vince's WWE anymore. We've seen the return
Mhm.
of CM Punk. Who saw that coming ever? Especially when Punk left the way he did, which was full of damage. It was not good. And they gave him another shot. So who fucking knows, man? You've got The Rock coming out, Triple H. There's just so much that goes on at the Royal Rumble. One cool thing, though, I do hope that happens during the Royal Rumble. And last night they kind of showed it on Monday Night Raw, or sorry, the other night on Monday Night Raw. They flashed back. It was Hulk Hogan talking about all of the success he has because it's the 40th year of Hulk Hogan with the WWE. And he already said in his promo, there might be one more in me. And I was like, dude, feed me that. Because there's always a surprise entrance that always comes in the Royal Rumble. How fucking awesome would it be to hear Hulk Hogan's music out of nowhere and he makes an appearance? He doesn't have to win the thing, but just to see him there. What would you have that nostalgia?
That'd be wicked. It's all honestly, the Royal Rumble's the one that I always watch
Yeah.
over WrestleMania, over everything. I always tune into the Royal Rumble because of that,
Yeah.
because of the nostalgia around it, and people come back, and I'm like, just brings back good memories.
Man, it flashes you back to when you were a kid, and like, I mean, that era
Yeah,
of wrestling for us was fucking awesome. And it's
yeah,
just like the Royal Rumble gives you that little sense of like you being a kid again,
yeah.
and like that's the one thing, and I agree with you fully. I absolutely adore about the Royal Rumble. It's just like you just don't know who's gonna come out. Like, if Hulk Hogan comes out, I'll lose my goddamn marbles. Like that's so fucking cool. The guy's 70 years old, and he's gonna be able to like he looks in phenomenal shape. Like brother's still got the 24-inch pythons. He ain't worried about shit. But Hulkamania will run wild for probably like 3 or 4 guys, and then he'll get tossed. Like it. But you love to see it, and like that's as a fan, that's why they keep coming back. That's why we keep watching it, right? So, with that being said, we're gonna get into the last topic of the evening. This one is probably the craziest because this broke this morning, and I was fucking flabbergasted when I read this. So, Vince McMahon has a new scandal out there. If you guys weren't aware, Vince McMahon has kind of stepped back as the owner of the WWE. TKO has taken over Endeavor as well, and have basically given Triple H the reins, if you will, to running the company. Now, a couple years ago, Vince paid a girl that he knew $3 million essentially in hush money to make sure that this story never came out. Well, that girl broke the story today, and it was when I woke up this morning, it was the first thing I saw. I was like, holy hell, Vince, what the hell? I thought maybe it's just somebody, because a couple years ago, Vince had a couple of those hush money scandals, and it just kind of got swept under the rug, and we didn't hear anything about it. Well, the text messages got sent between him and a girl named Mrs. Grant. Basically, if you want to read it, you can. I'm not going to get into it with the script of detail because it was fucking sickening. Basically, is the only way I could describe it. But Vince has now basically been accused of sex trafficking, and it is awful. I don't know, Cole, if you saw those text messages that were exchanged between the two. It's not good.
Hmm. That's yeah. I when when we're kind of going over this. This is the first time I heard, and that's wild. I think it's like even how much of an impact it's going to have on UFC because of that partnership that just formed. So
Well, and here's my thing. I think because Vince got bought out of his shares with TKO and
mm,
Endeavor, he's kind of a behind the scenes guy now. He doesn't
right.
he's not the forefront Vince McMahon of old, but I mean the stories and the text messages that came out. Basically it was him telling her his ultimate fantasy, and it was fucking morbid. Like putting it gently, it was fucking morbid. Like it was disgusting. And he should be ashamed, and I'm sure he's going to get some kind of fucking huge pee slap and punishment for this. He also the big part of the sex trafficking thing is he shared the photos of this girl without her consent or knowledge to other employees of the WWE.
Mm,
One of them being Brock Lesnar. So Brock's name came about today, and I'm praying because I like Brock Lesnar. I enjoy him quite a bit, but if he's in any kind of aspect of this, it's not a good look on his part either. This is just kind of wild in my eyes. So, um, he sent the photos. Vince sent the photos. I mean, there's apparently 12 staff members. Names haven't been dropped yet. Brock was the one that's been associated with it. And again, I'm not going to say Brock is guilty. I have no idea what happens there. Colton commenting, going to Saskatchewan man, Brock Lesnar. Yes, correct, that man. I'm not going to say anything because again, I think we live in a world where you're guilty until you're proven innocent, which is so backwards because it should be you're innocent until you're proven guilty, right? So it's going to be an interesting situation what happens here with this whole scandal. But if you guys want to read about it, you can go ahead. It is all over the major networks. If you want to read the text messages, it is out there and it has been exposed and it is awful. So with that being said, I think Vince is absolutely fucking toast in the wrestling world. And this just ruins the hardest part with this is that it ruins such a historic legacy, right? Like when you think WWE, you think of Vince McMahon, right? Like his feud with Stone Cold is the greatest feud of all time. And it's not even close. When you were growing up watching wrestling, the authority figure that Vince McMahon is, no chance. You know what I mean? Like you just remember the power that he exuded when he came in there. The Stone Cold battles, right? Like just so fucking good. It was just comical getting sprayed with beer and all that other shit in the hospital bed, getting beat up by Stone Cold. But Vince was so smart in the way that he brought something to the fold. So, what do you guys think? Like, what do you, Cole? I want your honest opinion, and you can tell me. Do you think with all this shit that's been happening with Vince in the last 5 years, that his legacy is just going to be on Dark Side of the Ring in like 2 years?
Dark Side of the Ring.
Shout out to Vice, love that
What a
show.
great show. But I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna go check this out after and kind of
Yeah,
see, and then I can make a better form a better opinion, I guess. But it doesn't sound great. So I'm not looking forward to reading it.
yeah, and Colton saying, like he comments and said the justice system is cooked. Hey, I can't disagree. The Canadian one is for sure frazzled, but the American takes this a lot harder. So I would be very, very surprised if there wasn't bigger things that happen in regards to this. Like I said, Cole, when you read it, you'll be disgusted. I assume you'll give me a text and be like, Jesus. Like, that's kind of where it is. Like, I felt sick reading it because it's just so descriptive, but again, I think it just tarnishes the legacy that Vince built. His dad built an empire, and speaking of Dark Side of the Ring, it's cool because a lot of those wrestlers in that timeline grew up with Vince Sr., right? And they talk about how Vince Sr. would buy like basically properties of wrestling chunks of all over the world. Like if you're in the South, Vince would take the best wrestlers, Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, like he would buy the ultimate guys. And then his son basically was like, I have the money. We're going to build this product. We're going to buy out WCW. Like, we're going to be it. We're all in. And now I feel like all of that crazy shit is just ruined. For me, I can't even look at Vince McMahon the same way. But that's where I'm going to leave it. You'll read it. We'll talk about it. You guys can all read it. It's on all major socials. With that being said, that is going to wrap up this week's edition of the Boomtown Pod. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We've had like I said, a busy show. Lots going on. If you missed our announcement, UFC 300 in Saskatoon, we will be your official hosts. We will get into more of that, obviously, as the cards come up. UFC 298, 299 coming up too. O'Malley is back. So that's exciting. I'm your host, Andrew Kahn. This is your co-host, of course, Mr. Sam Smith. Cole, how the hell do people find you, brother?
Instagram, Facebook. Find me.
Creep them. Goddamn creep them, all right?
DM me.
Yeah. Just be careful with those DMs. If it's me sliding in, we're okay, okay?
I will block.
He'll look at it and block. It does happen. But with that being said, again, you guys can check him out. Make sure if you're in the Saskatoon area, you want to go to a gym academy and you want to learn how to box, this is the guy to do it. He will run you through a crash course of absolutely everything from beginner to experienced. He will be in your corner. He is my guy. He is my ride or die. We are your hosts. Thank you so much for tuning into the Boomtown Pod. This has been episode 8. We cannot wait to see you guys very soon.